You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing daily, hopefully. Hello, it is Thursday the 8th of August 2024. You're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, and I've had a fairly productive day today. I haven't written anything new, but the big thing I needed to do was to work out exactly what was going to happen with chapter 34. So something I wrote in chapter 33 meant I needed to rework what happened in 34, absolutely for the better, as it happens, but I couldn't just go with my original plan because something substantial had changed. So what I did today, I've had my car MOT'd and serviced today, and so it passed its MOT fine, you will be glad to hear, and the service didn't cost that much either, but it was a half-day job. So what I did was I got the earliest appointment that I could, and I had it done in Rugby, which is a town not far from where I live. It's about 8 miles away, and it's where I bought the car. So I booked the service in for 8:15. I dropped it off at 8 o'clock, and then walked into town. And Rugby Town Centre has got quite a few coffee shops and bits and pieces to do. So I basically spent the morning walking around or stopping and having lunch or breakfast and something to drink. And I worked on the detailed breakdown for chapter 34, which incorporated quite a bit of the original breakdown, but I had to incorporate some new stuff based on what I wrote in chapter 33. You can hear a telephone ringing in the background. I don't use my landline anymore, so I've no idea who it's going to be, so I'm just going to let it keep ringing. You probably can't hear it anyway, can you? Maybe slightly. Anyway, so I had to incorporate the new elements. So I have done a detailed scene-by-scene breakdown of chapter 34. It actually has a lot more jeopardy in it. So one of the things that that I've added actually creates a little more jeopardy, and makes what happens in that chapter a little bit more big deal, which I'm quite pleased about. So so that it's literally. There's no point talking about the detail because you don't know the story. Even if you've been following this, you won't know the story too much. But I'm very pleased with my chapter breakdown for chapter 34 that I've got. It's going to be quite a long chapter. In fact, one thing I have thought, there's about 2 scenes at the beginning which are set, and then which are set at the same time frame as the last chapter. Then there's a 2-day break before everything continues. So one thing I think I may do, once I've written the chapter, is actually take those 2 scenes off and chuck them onto chapter 33 and keep the rest as chapter 34. I think that probably makes it. I'll write it first because in my head I've signed off chapter 33 now, so I'm not going to reopen it and start again. I'll write the scenes I intended to write, and then once I've done all the editing, I then may decide to chuck them onto the end of the previous chapter, which will literally be a job of cut and paste. I won't have to do any additional work once I've signed off chapter 34. So I'm pleased with that. And it ties into, I've made some slight adjustments to my my description of what happens in chapter 35, which it might be a slightly shorter chapter, but it's an absolutely key pivotal one. And then in 36, the general election results come out, and then you've got a lot of things change, and that sort of heads in towards the end of the book. So so I'm very, very pleased with the work I've got done today. And the other thing I did this morning, I haven't done them yet, but I started actively looking into which agencies I'm going to send the English Hikikomori to next. I think I've got it now narrowed down to 2. And I just need to effectively, what I've also done is gone through, so one of the agencies has quite a lot of agents, think about 8 or 9 agents. And what I've actually done is I've read through all their profiles and what kind of stuff they're excited by and interested in and what they're looking for. And I've narrowed it down to 3 off the top of my head. Obviously, before I decide to send it, I will actually read through the information about them again and decide which of the 3 agents within that agency are the best one. But that's something I can probably do tomorrow. I was hoping to be able to say that I'd sent them off today, but this agency looks like quite a good one, and it's worth spending the time researching the individual authors. Now, they want most of the same information that I've already given, but I think one of the things they want is a pitch. So effectively a one-sentence snazzified... they want a pitch, a blurb, and a synopsis. So the pitch is the one sentence, sell the story. The blurb is effectively a little more detail, sell the story with no spoilers. And then the synopsis is literally a breakdown of everything that happens in the book, spoilers and all. So I don't think I've written all 3 of those things for any of my submissions so far, but that's absolutely fine. I think I've got... I think it's just the pitch, which is the shortest one that I need to work on. But I don't think that'll be terribly hard. So that's that. And I've emailed another agency because their website seems to be under construction. So I've emailed just to ask, as the website's under construction, are they accepting submissions? And if they are, what would you like? What would they like me to send? I haven't heard anything back yet. So possibly that one won't happen. But anyway, so no, I haven't been, whilst I haven't live streamed and I haven't been writing anything specific today, I have done a lot of work on my storylining for the remaining chapters of Empress of the Trees, and definitely tomorrow I should be able to start the process of actually writing those chapters. I'm looking maybe to reduce the amount of live streaming I do. So I think I like it and I enjoy doing it, but I worry that it puts, because I have the book that I'm writing on display on the screen as I write it, I do sometimes worry that it does mean that the material is effectively out there, although that Twitch streams disappear after a couple of weeks, and whilst I do archive them to my YouTube site, I do actually set them to private, which means that only I can see them. If one day the book ever is published, whether it's by a traditional publisher, an independent publisher, or me self-publishing it, if appropriate at that point, once it's been out a while, I may release the videos of me writing it, but... just to give you an idea of how massive the process is. And also I actually did find that, so there's quite a lot of the chapter 33 I wasn't able to live stream because I just did it on a laptop whilst I was out having lunch and bits and pieces like that. And actually that's a nice way to work. I mustn't feel I have to live stream all of the writing, but that's kind of the mentality I've got into recently, that I can't write without live streaming it. And I need to stop that, because whilst I enjoy the live streaming and the interaction, I can write at times other than that. Anyway, I've waffled on a little bit over my time that I intended to today. But that's me done. So yeah, that's another day in August down. This was show 91. So I'm going to have to think of something exciting to do for show 100, although I am doing a lot of work on that day. That's a long day, a 3-flight day. So I might have to, we'll think about it. Maybe I'll pre-record something to put out that day that's a little bit longer or a little more involved, maybe. I don't know. The other things I'm toying with is giving myself a couple of weeks off over Christmas and maybe releasing one of the short stories in audiobook form on the podcast during that time. Maybe, I don't know, because it's copyright material, both the Bill and Doctor Who, so I don't know if I'll get away with that. I'll have to take some advice on that. Or I suppose I could do the opening chapter of the English Hikikomori, which is totally owned by me, which, that might be possible. Anyway, I need to shut up because this is nearly 9 minutes now, which is ridiculously long for a 6-minute podcast. Thank you for listening. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Wright, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.